Welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar is Are You Making These Digital Marketing Mistakes? I am Sangeeta Kumar and I'm the Chief Content Officer at DMIOA. I am also VP at GMR Web Team, a digital marketing agency. Today we will cover 11 common mistakes made by newbies in digital marketing, and we will also cover 6 mistakes that are repeatedly made by senior level executives who direct these newbies. We are mostly speaking out of our experience and the mistakes that we did as an agency and that I did personally as a newbie in digital marketing. So mistake number 1 is diving straight into activities. Generally, when you go to a desk of a new person, they're very excited about the job, they like digital marketing, and you ask them, okay, what have you planned for today? And they say, oh, today I'm going to do 4 Facebook pages. I've scheduled them at 8 a.m., 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. and so on. And I'm going to post these, then I'll repost these content on Twitter, and then I'll make a picture and post it in Pinterest. And then you ask them, okay, good, but why are you doing it? And then they don't have an answer because they don't know why they're doing it. And unless you have an objective in mind, none of the activities that you're going to do is going to make sense. Remember, you're working to get the client or the business you're working on some business, either in the form of revenue or leads. You're just not publishing just like this. It's just no point at all in publishing content like that. So always first ask what the plan is and then dive into creating that content. Don't start doing publications and activities straight on without knowing what the plan is. And it's very okay to ask for a plan. Not only that, when your executive explains the plan to you, suddenly their concept also becomes clearer, and then you are also more focused on what you're doing. For instance, suppose I am blogging about adoption. So instead of throwing out a lot of content to parents, it makes more sense to be talking about adoptive procedures, issues faced by adoptive parents, because our target audience is those parents. They are not just general parents or people who want to become parents. They are people. Your target audience are those people who want to become parents but cannot become parents, and you want them to consider adoption. So once you know the details behind the campaigns you are more focused and you do a better job. So never dive straight into activities. It is very okay to ask questions. Mistake number 2, and this is such a common mistake that I have actually promoted it to number 2, is sending emails without testing. This is a screenshot that I've taken at a university that came to me. It was a career counseling workshop they were holding, and the objective was to get more students, but around 85% of people open their email, especially students, on their phones. And this is the kind of content that went out to them. And then they complain that, okay, digital marketing doesn't work. Of course, it's not going to work if this comes in like it. So always test. Test it first on your email, especially when you are sending out emails. You have a smartphone. Probably your colleague might be having an iPhone. You might be having an Android phone. Test it on all different platforms, especially if you're not using a reputed email software. A lot of companies go on cost saving measures. They use different kind of softwares. So don't do that, because every software every screen should be adapting to that format of email. And if you are unsure or if you still have to use that cheap software, don't send out HTML mails. Send out text emails, because they are easier to read, and at least you won't get this kind of data there. Mistake number 3 is posting on social media with grammatical mistakes. Remember, you're building a brand, and your brand is based on authenticity. It is based on a certain reputation. And when you make these spellos or typos, your brand is affected. Just for fun, HubSpot has compiled the list of typos made by big brands. But okay, if you're a big brand, it might make the news. But if you're a small brand and you make those typos, it affects your credibility. In fact, in our company, when we started making a lot of typos, especially even in emails, social media, I'm talking about social media here, but when I'm emailing a client or when I'm emailing someone for an influencer, so we have downloaded Grammarly, which detects those errors that we make, especially on email, online, or when we are posting on social media, and that compels us, those red marks, squiggly red marks, compel us to read our post again and see where we are going wrong. Mistake number 4 is not tracking your campaign appropriately. The first time I walked into my boss's chamber and said, this Facebook campaign is very successful. We got 212 likes. And he was like, oh, really? But where's the revenue? Where are the sales? And I was like, I was a newbie, remember? And I came out and I said, he doesn't appreciate me. But I had a good boss. And he said, it's not about appreciation, but it is about doing or getting what is required. And you can't do that unless you track your campaign properly. Because if you had tracked your campaign properly, you would have told the boss, see, so many people from Facebook went to the website, but they did not buy. Probably the website content or the page is not good enough for them to buy, but I had not tracked those URLs. So I am now a big fan of the Google Campaign URL Builder. Here's the link below. Tag all your emails, even if you're tag all your URLs, and even if you're shortening your URL, first tag them through the URL Builder and then shorten them so that you know exactly where the traffic is coming in analytics. And then you can know, okay, X students, X prospects came through this campaign, but they did not go to the landing page. Instead, they're browsing on this page. So maybe something is wrong with the campaign. Maybe I'm targeting the wrong audience through this campaign. So if you're not tracking the campaigns properly, you cannot make such decisions and you cannot know the reasons for the failure of certain campaigns which you were so sure that would succeed. Targeting the wrong keywords. And this can be very costly. When I started my career in digital marketing, I was required to optimize GMR transcription for the keyword transcription companies. And this suggestion came from my boss. So following his suggestions, the boss or the owner of the company, following his suggestions, I started on it. We were number 1 on it, but there was no business. But simultaneously, we were working on other keywords. And when we came on to the top for transcription services, suddenly the business boomed. But here I'll take my time to say, if I was tracking those keywords properly, or if I knew that I was doing the wrong keyword, I should have gone to the Google Analytics campaign and tracked users who came through that keyword to see where they were heading to. In a hindsight, when we started, following those who is coming in from transcription companies keyword and who are coming from the transcription services keyword, we realized that people who came or prospects who came from the transcription companies keyword were mostly those who wanted jobs in transcription. Naturally, from the psychological or behavioral point of view, in a hindsight, it made sense, but at that time it did not. And that happened because we were not analyzing our data properly. So when you have achieved a certain level with keywords and your traffic is not making sense to you, despite your traffic, you're not getting leads or you are not it's not converting into revenue. One of the reasons could be you are targeting the wrong keywords and people are coming to the website with different expectations. So make sure you know what are the right keywords to target. Always when you are selecting your keywords, examine the intent behind those keywords. And once you examine the intent behind those keywords, suddenly the selection of keywords becomes very easy. Mistake number 6, creating content, throwing it out, and hoping it'll stick. Oh my, we sat down, we brainstormed, we created the best content ever, and the readers were yet to come. And we acted pretty hurt. We used to go to our seniors' chamber and say, "Oh, see, we created such good content, but nobody's reading it." And they said, "Yeah, the content is good. I don't know why it's not generating traffic." But it wouldn't. Later on, we realized why. And later on, we realized that even our senior executive should have told us why. But before you are creating content, you have to know where it is going to be published and how are you going to publicize that content. You need to have a publication plan, you need to have a sharing plan, you need to have a popularity plan before you are creating the content. Of course, it does help to have very good content on your blog when you're writing guest posts or when you're going out reaching, sending people to social media, but that is step 2. Step 1, you need to know why, which content you're going to leave on your blog, publish it, how you're going to popularize your content. More than that, creating content, it is more important to know how you're going to publish your content and where you're going to publish it and how you're going to popularize it. Made a great post, made a great engagement comment on Friday evening, left the office, Saturday, Sunday, office is closed, but all engagement happened over the weekend. Now all leads, you're following up on those leads, nobody is responding back to your comments. Does this sound familiar? This is what happens most of the times. Social media does not close over the weekends. Social media gets more active over the weekends, especially in B2C segments. B2B segments, okay, it doesn't get active. But B2C segments, social media does get active over the weekends. So you should have a plan. You should have a plan that, okay, I am working, sorry, I am working over the weekend for an hour. So you should probably ask your boss, say, okay, Monday I'm going to turn in an hour later because I'll be working on the posts or following up on social media posts. This should be very clear to you that if you are posting on social media and your social media post is getting some traction, you will have to work over the weekends. Another mistake is ignoring audience completely and going ahead with just doing all your work, planning, and everything. I'll give you an example here. Now, suppose I'm a beauty blogger and I endorse products. So, as a beauty blogger, I might be endorsing an eyeliner product and I might be endorsing an anti-wrinkle cream or two. But what if my blog is read only in this segment, like 18 to 30 or 18 to 25? Will my anti-wrinkle cream sell? Definitely not. So I need to know my audience. I need to create a persona of an ideal audience, like who is this product suitable for, or who are reading my blog, and what is the appropriate product to introduce in my blog. And it is very easy to do that now. You can use several tools like even Google Analytics tells you the kind of people who are coming to your blogs. So you can go to the audience section in Google Analytics and see what kind of people are following your blog or your website and build your persona accordingly. Make your persona very alive. Try to add in small details. Some companies I know are so focused on persona creating that they have big cutouts of ideal personas in their office, so that every time you're running a campaign, they come and put the personas in the conference room as if they are talking to them, and then they set up their campaigns around those personas. So doing audience research and having a persona makes your campaign more realistic because you know exactly how your audience would react. You are anticipating their actions because you or their behaviors, because you know that they like this and they don't like this, so you're aware of their likes and dislikes. So another very common mistake is sending all traffic to the home page. Remember, digital marketing is not push marketing, it is pull marketing. And in pull marketing, people are searching for different kinds of information. And sending all people to the landing, to the home page is not enough, because your home page cannot be cluttered with too much information. In that case, it becomes overwhelming for the visitor to find the kind of information they are looking for. The ideal thing is to make a specialized landing page for each campaign that you're running, so that your prospect that lands on the page has no trouble in finding out the information they require and no trouble in taking the next action required. Putting all eggs in the same basket. There are so many different channels of digital marketing: social, paid, organic, email. Now, if remember, one of the things in digital marketing is that you don't own anything except your website and your blog. You don't own Facebook, you don't own Google, and they can change their rules whenever they like. At one time, Facebook was very popular, but now the organic reach for businesses in Facebook is near nil. They have to invest money. So, what about those businesses who were getting all their leads through Facebook organic? They suddenly have to adjust to the new guidelines of Facebook. What about those who were getting number one in Google, getting a lot of traffic to their website, and then Google suddenly changed its guidelines? They were suddenly penalized. For all those years, they were doing the business the right way, and suddenly they were penalized. It's good to focus on one channel because that may be your primary channel of bringing in leads or revenue, but don't ignore the other channels. Keep on building your presence on other channels, because when you're building a brand, people might be wanting to interact with you on different kinds of platforms. So, this multi channel hopping is very important. It's a part of social behavior, it's a part of online behavior now: multi device and multi channel hopping. So, don't just focus on a single channel, however limited your budget might be. This mistake actually saddens me. This mistake is what has given digital marketing a very bad name. This mistake is where you have no intention of honestly marketing a business and your only objective is to make a quick buck and move on to the next client. It's the intent is actually dishonest here, and this is how it happens. Remember, digital marketing is one of those professions where you can work virtually. So you go on many freelancing sites, contact a client, and then make promises, and you have no intent on delivering those promises. Probably you might say, I will put your website on number one, or I will optimize your website for 10 keywords, and those keywords that you choose might have no impact on the business at all. And in the end, you say, okay, but I've done my job. So, when you are doing this, or even when you're in a company, when you are doing this, or you're not talking, doing your work properly, that makes you a bad digital marketer. And that's a mistake. Why? Because you're giving the profession a bad name. And not only that, now with social media, it is very easy. You're building a bad reputation, and soon that reputation is going to catch on everywhere. So now that we've covered most of the mistakes that we made as newbies and that we've seen the new interns that come into our companies make, I will move on to some of the advanced mistakes that are made by those senior level executives that guide the newbies. The first thing is when they create content without a publication plan. Remember, I was talking earlier about how we created great content and it just didn't, I threw it out. So what we got was a kind of guidelines, like this should be in the headline, this should be in the body, and like uh, you need so many words, and the summary should come after this. So we had the content guidelines, but we did not have the publication guidelines, or there was no publication plan. There was no plan of how to popularize the content. So, not that, see, this lurks at two levels. The first level was that the team was disappointed that they worked hard and nothing came out of it. There was time spent on it, there was effort spent on it with zero results. If the senior executive had then said, okay, interact with these influencers, share their content, and when you publish this, when you create your content on the blog, let them know that you have also created this content and they can refer to this too. Imagine the kind of difference it would make. This is a mistake that I made personally when I was optimizing, or I was working on a digital marketing plan for a client. I let that client, the owner of the company, guide me to the digital marketing campaign. And in fact, like he said, I want to do Facebook. And I agreed, yeah, let's do Facebook. But he was a B2B company. And B2B, especially in the hardware section, B2B is not there on Facebook. I should have put my foot down and said, no, I don't, you hired me as an expert and I know that Facebook doesn't work. So don't be guided by the owner's ego. They hired you as an expert and they expect you to be disagreeing or agreeing or putting across your views. Always put across your views if you disagree, though you may be forced to do the work, especially when you are a newbie. But you should say, I don't agree with you because I think this might happen, or I think this could be the situation. Another mistake is sending out the same email to everyone in the list, not segmenting your emails. You might have 100 or even a 10,000 list, but if you're sending out the same email to everyone without segmenting it upon the actions taken, you're making a big mistake. Your conversion rates are going to be very low, and then you're going to be, or when you go with those reports to your boss, they're going to say email marketing doesn't work. But if you segment your emails according to action taken by a client, or sorry, by your prospects, then now suppose I have an email where we run where we run a campaign for people who come and download a brochure on DMIOA. For the next, we might run a campaign for a person who subscribes to our newsletter or even to our webinar. Now, if I'm sending out the same content to each person, it doesn't make sense. A person or a visitor who subscribed to my webinar list is interested in listening to the webinars that are conducted by DMIOA. A person who downloads the brochure is interested in admission. The objectives of both are very different. So the follow-up email to both should be different. Even the follow-up content should be different. So when you are planning for email marketing, you have to segment your list because you have to market different things to different people. Another mistake is not creating a sales funnel. Everybody cannot convert at one stage. While some people might become your customers, there might be some people who are still considering you. There might be some people who are considering your competitors. Or there might be some people who are no longer interested in buying a product. But you should have a sales funnel. And you should be keeping every list or every prospect that came to your website into that funnel and capturing their information if possible. And then you should be moving out, segmenting them, and sending out different emails to them, or throwing out different contents to them based upon what you think would be their level of interest in your product. Another mistake that marketeers make is not using upsell, downsell, and cross sell, especially on e-commerce sites. There should be a upsell, there should be a downsell email, and there should be a cross sell email, especially when they are adding products to the shopping cart. One of the biggest mistakes that advanced digital marketeers make is ignoring the key performing indexes. And what are key performing indexes? If you follow Avinash Kaushik, you will know that key performing KPIs or key performing indexes determine the outcome of your campaign. Now, if I am running a campaign to get more leads, how am I going to measure the success of the campaign? My campaign success ideally should be divided into two sections. The macro, where I'm getting actual leads or in the form of calls or filled forms on the website, and micro, where people are engaging with my brand, because those are prospective leads in the future. So you have to have a proper KPI or a key performing index laid out for each campaign that you run, because all campaigns cannot be determined a success or a failure just based on one single outcome. So the key takeaways today that I would say is, when you are starting with digital marketing, don't plunge into activities, start with an objective. You should set up a measurement plan, and if as a newbie your boss doesn't give you a measurement plan, you should ask what the measurement plan is. You should take your time to know your audience. You should keep on asking questions about your audience. You should always test and proofread your content, and if not, you should be downloading certain softwares like Grammarly, which will do that automatically for you. And always develop a checklist. You have a personal checklist. Of course, you might get a company checklist, which is good, but if you don't get a checklist, always have a personal checklist. Because I remember I started my career with email marketing with a copywriter, and every comma mattered with him. So I had a checklist. I made a checklist. The from, the if the from included the name and the email address. Then I had the checklist for the subject line. Is it proper? Does it have the proper comma at the proper place? The body, is the image working? Is the image rendering? Is the image rendering on different platforms? Does this template allow image to be rendered on different platforms? If not, do I have a text version? So have your own checklist, have a personal checklist, and that checklist it takes effort to create one time, but then it's there for you for a lifetime, and you can just keep on adding new things to it. So that's all for today. Now I'll take all your questions.